That would be unacceptable. That's all that matters. Now let's move on.
Okay. Well, just one question.
Now let's move on.
Well, one question before we move on to other companies, which is that I wonder if some of what has happened to Tesla in the last few months, did you take it personally?
Yes.
And did it make you regret any of, or think twice about your political endeavors? Because I
did what needed to be done. The violent antibody reaction, and I'm not someone who's ever committed violence, and yet massive violence was committed against my companies. Massive violence was threatened against me. Who are these people? Why would they do that? How wrong can they be? They're on the wrong side of history, and that's an evil thing to do. To go and damage some poor innocent person's car, to threaten to kill me. What's wrong with these people? I've not harmed anyone. So something needs to be done about them. And a number of them are going to prison, and they deserve it. And more will.
You're referring to the attacks on Tesla showrooms, but I think...
Yeah. Firing bullets into showrooms and burning down cars is unacceptable.
Yeah.
Those people will go to prison, and the people that funded them and organized them will also go to prison. Don't worry.
But wouldn't you?
We're coming for you.
The unbelievable hubris of this man. Oh my God. Absolutely no accountability for his horrid actions or any self-reflection for the disasters he's created for his companies. Oh, no. It's everyone else's fault. Spoken like the true narcissistic sociopath that Elon Musk is. Hi, my name is Suri Crowe, and you're watching the MeidasTouch Network. You know, I've never bought into the story that Elon Musk is autistic. I think he's just a stone cold psychopath, devoid of empathy, a cold, power-hungry sadist. He's almost cartoonishly evil. Listen to his villainous laugh even. Elon thinks that his car is being vandalized because so many people despise him is on the level with the millions of people whom his actions have directly hurt and or killed. Musk's DOGE gutting of USAID is already resulting in thousands of deaths in Africa and will, according to multiple estimates from global agencies around the world, kill millions of people via starvation or lack of medical care that USAID used to provide. So much for his lie of, I've never harmed anyone. Yeah, whatever, Mr. Chainsaw. Here's what fellow billionaire and global philanthropist Bill Gates recently had to say about Musk.
In a brand new interview, billionaire philanthropist Bill Gates telling the FT this, quote, "The picture of the world's richest man killing the world's poorest children is not a pretty one." The FT reports this, quote, "Gates said Musk had canceled grants to a hospital in Gaza province, Mozambique, that prevents women transmitting HIV to their babies in the mistaken belief that the U.S. was supplying condoms to Hamas in Gaza in the Middle East. Quote, I'd love for him to go in and meet the children that have now been infected with HIV because he cut that money." Bill Gates announced plans to step up where Trump and Musk have pulled away, with plans to spend more than $200 billion on global health in the next 20 years. Gates also expanded on his comments in an interview with Stephen Colbert last night. Watch.
I've been out in the field with the people who work for USAID and seen, the brilliant work they do and how important that is. Unfortunately, there was a weekend where it was decided they were criminals and they were put in the wood chipper. And so we lost a lot of capacity there. Now we can get it back. Eventually Congress is the one who will have the final word on this. And even I'm not even sure the administration understands what's going on in the field, because we do have, for the first time in 25 years, we have more children dying. Instead of it going down, it's now going up. And unless we reverse pretty quickly, that'll be over 1 million additional deaths.
And you lay some of this at the feet of DOGE and of course Elon Musk. And I hope I'm getting this even close here. You said the picture of the world's richest man being involved in the death of the world's poorest. is not a pretty one.
That's right.
Well said. Well said.
Elon Musk, along with Donald Trump and America's nauseating set of greedy billionaires, are white men failing upwards on steroids. Elon is a ketamine-addicted drug freak who's never really invented anything, by the way. He bought other people's inventions, and he's made the bulk of his billions of dollars of wealth off of U.S. government contracts. So Mr. I'm cutting fraud and waste in the government is the biggest recipient of government handouts ever. And he had no business putting his hand in the center of American power, yet because of how deeply broken our American system and society is, which rewards mediocre white men, he was allowed to do that. And it's such an indictment on our system of power. A rich white man can literally get away with anything. I mean, look who's the president. And yet, in Elon's world, as in Donald Trump's, he's always the victim.
In government, you are in this unique and unprecedented position of having billions of dollars worth of contracts with the federal government yourself, mostly through SpaceX, and also now an insider's knowledge of it because of DOGE. Can you see that there is a conflict of interest or a potential conflict of interest in broad terms just through that very fact?
I don't think so, actually. There have been many advisors throughout history and in the U.S. government and others who have had economic interests. And I am simply an advisor. I don't have formal power. And that's it. The president can choose to accept my advice or not. And that's how it goes. If there's a single contract that any of my companies have received that people think is somehow not was awarded improperly, it would immediately be front page news, to say the least. And if I didn't mention it, certainly my competitors would. So
Elon Starlink, by the way, pushed out Verizon at the FAA, and Verizon had a contract with the FAA to upgrade aviation systems in place since 2023. So this is a blatant conflict of interest and double dealing on Musk's part.
First of all, you should be questioning why are there racist laws in South Africa? That's the first problem. That's what you should be attacking. It's improper for there to be racist laws in South Africa. The whole idea with what Nelson Mandela, who was a great man, proposed was that all races should be on an equal footing in South Africa. That's the right thing to do, not to replace one set of racist laws with another set of racist laws, which is utterly wrong and improper. So that's the deal, that all races should be treated equally, and there should be no preference given to one or the other. Whereas there are now 140 laws in South Africa that give that basically give strong preference to if you're a black South African and not otherwise. And so now I'm in this absurd situation where I was born in South Africa but cannot get a license to operate in Starlink because I'm not black.
Well, it looks like that's about looks like that
right to you?
Looks like that's about to change.
I just asked you a question. Please answer. Does that seem right to you?
Well, those rules were designed to bring
yes or no?
Those rules were designed to bring about an era of more economic equality in South Africa, and it looks like the government has found a way around those rules for you.
I asked you a question.
This is your interview. Everyone wants to hear from you.
I asked you a question. Yes or no?
Not
Racist
for me.
Laws, yes or no?
Not for me to answer. I have got a question for you about your government work there and the amount of savings.
He's just a jerk. He's demeaning this woman who did an exemplary job in front of hundreds of people at this Qatari Economic Forum. But you can really get a flavor of the hateful way that Elon treats people whom he thinks are beneath him, particularly women. He's just a horrible human. And South Africa, where he's from, had decades of oppression and death at the expense of Black people, known as apartheid. The majority population that equity laws are trying to make right is for the Black people there. And yet, even so, it looks like Elon's going to get around these equity laws over in South Africa because he's what? A very rich white man. Elon also made an appearance earlier this week on CNBC. Listen to this bitch fest.
My question is more about your work at DOGE, for example. Was that worth it? You know, to the extent you are now, Elon, you were a somewhat divisive figure 2 years ago, but now you really are. I mean, there are people who love you, but there are a lot of people who dislike you, some of whom were your customers. And I wonder, was it worth the undertaking at DOGE and everything else that you've done and how outspoken you've been in terms of the things you believe in to antagonize so many potential buyers and or users of things like a robo-taxi?
Well, I mean, unfortunately, what I've learned is that legacy media propaganda is very effective at making people believe things that aren't true.
What would an example of that be?
That I'm a Nazi, for example.
Right.
And how many legacy media publications, talk shows, whatever, try to claim that I was a Nazi because of some random hand gesture at a rally where all I said was that my heart goes out to you. And
Firstly, let's just dispense with the lie that the legacy corporate media is ever pushing a liberal lefty narrative. In fact, it is quite the opposite. They're typically pushing a fascist right-wing corporate narrative, something we regularly report on here at the MeidasTouch Network. Secondly, Elon, you are a fucking Nazi. This was no random hand gesture. Look at his face. He's fully into it. He did it twice. He wanted to make sure we all got the FU in our faces as he and his fellow Nazi Donald Trump ascended to the heights of power. And every authoritarian scholar and historian who saw that hand gesture called it exactly what it was, a Nazi salute. The gaslighting from this psychopath and his attempt to cry over himself is next effing level. Shut up, Elon. And as he slinks away from his formal position as a regular in Donald Trump's White House, don't for a minute think that he didn't get exactly what he came for. He shoved through billions of dollars in government contracts in huge conflicts of interest. He escaped multiple investigations into his companies for violating safety regulations and rules. He fired thousands of federal employees. He collected millions of pieces of data on all of us, and God knows what he's going to do with all of that. He didn't really save the taxpayers any money at all. His quote, austerity cuts resulted in chaos. And in many cases, a lot of these government agencies having to go back and rehire people. So they ended up spending ultimately more money. We are less safe and less secure because of Trump and Elon Musk. I mean, for God's sakes, just look at the NIH, look at Newark Airport where no one's even flying in right now because we literally don't have enough air traffic controllers to make the skies safe. And what really struck me as I was putting this story together is just the repulsive greed of Elon Musk and the Trumpian billionaire cult class. The Republicans just voted to pass a bill that will drive the poorest Americans into deeper poverty by raising their taxes, the poor people's taxes, and taking away their health care and food assistance. That is a next level type of cruelty, and it was done intentionally.
We do have, for the first time in 25 years, we have more children dying. Instead of it going down, it's now going up. And unless we reverse pretty quickly, that'll be over 1 million additional deaths.
And you lay some of this at the feet of DOGE and, of course, Elon Musk. And I hope I'm getting this even close here. You said the picture of the world's richest man being involved in the death of the world's poorest is not a pretty one.
That's right.
Well said.
You know, say what you will about Bill Gates, but he recently announced that he plans to give away 99% of his wealth in the next 20 years. That is on top of the billions of dollars that he and his ex-wife, Melinda French Gates, have already given through their own Gates Foundation and many other philanthropies. And according to Benzinga, Gates and his former wife would have surpassed Elon Musk in wealth long ago had they not engaged in so much philanthropy and sold off the majority of their Microsoft stock. They would have been the world's first trillionaires. But no, they chose a different path. They chose to do good with their vast wealth. This is in stark contrast to the gross greed we see now where Musk, Trump, Jeff Bezos, Zuckerberg, and all these others, this club of clowns are just hoarding the bulk of the world's wealth while people are literally starving and dying because of lack of access to basic needs, housing, food, and medical care. And yet Americans decided to vote into power people who want to give these obscenely rich people bigger tax cuts while cutting off what tiny little benefits the poorest of us have. So my take today is suck it, Elon, you crying white, rich titty baby, as the I Had It girls say. The sooner the world moves on from you and your evil ilk, the better off we will all be. And I am praying that it is sooner than later. Thanks for watching, you guys. I hope to see you back here soon. Please follow me on my socials, which will be linked in the description below. And also join me over on Substack, where I just launched a brand new Substack. I would love to see you over there as well. All right. And as always, peace.
Love this video? Continue the conversation by following us on Instagram @MeidasTouch and help us blow past 1 million followers.